Hesitation is commonly explained as caution. It is described as a preference for accuracy over speed. The pauses are framed as discipline. The delay is framed as control. The surface account is simple. A person is said to be thinking carefully. They are weighing options. They are choosing words with care. Nothing is assumed to be wrong. In this explanation, silence is treated as processing. A stopped gesture is treated as restraint. A restarted sentence is treated as refinement. The interruption is treated as improvement. The behavior is positioned as maturity, not reactive, not impulsive, measured, deliberate. This account often carries social approval. Thoughtfulness is praised. Thoroughness is rewarded. Speed is treated as careless. Under this lens, hesitation becomes a virtue. It signals seriousness. It signals intelligence. It signals responsibility. Observers are encouraged to read patience into the delay. They are encouraged to see depth where motion stalls. They are encouraged to see intention where action breaks. The explanation does not accuse. It does not pathologize. It does not warn. It reassures. It normalizes. It reframes the visible pause as invisible work. In conversations, the delay is excused as reflection. In decisions, the slowdown is excused as diligence. In expression, the interruption is excused as precision. Nothing appears unstable in this account. Nothing appears conflicted. Nothing appears costly. The explanation closes quickly. It satisfies surface judgment. It ends inquiry before it begins. The surface explanation holds only at a distance. It collapses under sustained observation. If hesitation were simply caution, it would be selective. It would appear only where accuracy mattered. Instead, it appears broadly, in low-stakes moments, in routine exchanges, in familiar territory. If the delay were driven by care, it would shorten with clarity. Familiarity would reduce it. Repetition would compress it. This does not occur. The pauses persist even when the content is known. The interruptions repeat even when the words are rehearsed. The stoppage does not track complexity. The explanation also fails to account for timing. The delay does not occur after thought. It occurs during expression, mid-motion, mid-sentence, mid-commitment. Caution operates before action. This behavior interrupts action already begun. That distinction matters. The surface account assumes internal order. Careful thought implies sequence. Evaluation, then response. The observed pattern breaks sequence. The explanation also assumes consistency. Thoughtfulness should look stable, measured, predictable. This behavior fluctuates sharply. The same person alternates between fluency and stoppage. Not across topics, within them. The account further relies on intention. It assumes the delay is chosen, yet the interruption appears automatic, unsignaled, unplanned. No deliberate pause announces itself this way. No chosen restraint fractures movement midstream. The explanation does not explain the visible strain, the rechecking, the restarting, the micro-corrections. It labels the outcome without explaining the pattern. It names the delay but ignores its structure. As a description, it comforts. As an explanation, it thins quickly. It closes inquiry prematurely. It mistakes surface calm for internal order. The mechanism begins before the pause becomes visible. An internal check activates as expression initiates, not after, during. A response starts forming. Motor and language systems commit forward. Momentum builds toward completion. At the same moment, parallel monitoring engages. The output is observed while still forming. The act is evaluated before it finishes. This evaluation is not reflective. It does not wait for outcome. It does not sequence after action. It runs concurrently, fast, compressed. Because it occurs during execution, it collides with motion. The system attempts correction before completion is possible. Revision begins too late to be clean. The process splits into overlapping tracks. One continues expression, another inspects exposure. Neither yields control fully, neither completes its role. The result is interference. Expression loses continuity. Evaluation gains urgency. This produces interruption rather than adjustment. A sentence halts, a gesture freezes, a response suspends. Once interruption occurs, monitoring intensifies. The incomplete output becomes a new object of scrutiny. The system now observes both the act and its disruption. This doubles internal load. Each restart carries residue from the previous break. The next attempt begins under heightened vigilance. The timing becomes unstable. Evaluation engages earlier with each cycle. Less motion is required to trigger collision. There is no central controller coordinating this. No single command halts the process. Competing operations occupy the same moment. The mechanism does not require conscious intent. It does not wait for decision. Activation alone is sufficient. The behavior appears as delay. Operationally, it is interference. Expression and evaluation share the same time slice. This overlap creates drag. Drag manifests as hesitation. Nothing external is required to maintain it. The loop runs internally. Once active, interruption sustains interruption. The system cannot reach completion long enough to reset. Action remains provisional. Execution never clears its own checkpoint. Once interruption occurs, the process does not clear. It carries forward. Each pause leaves the system partially engaged. Monitoring does not disengage after the break. It stays active. The next attempt begins under altered conditions. Expression resumes with elevated scrutiny already present. Evaluation is closer to initiation. This changes timing. Less motion is required to trigger interference. Smaller signals now provoke stoppage. Repetition tightens the loop. Interruption becomes expected. Expectation alters pacing. Expression slows before disruption occurs. This slowing does not stabilize output. It extends exposure. Extended exposure increases internal checking. The system samples itself more frequently. Each sample increases the chance of collision. Over time, fluency loses priority. Continuity feels provisional. Completion feels uncertain. The loop does not require escalation. It advances through repetition alone, through timing shifts, through learned interference. Each incomplete attempt reinforces the next. Unfinished action becomes the norm. Finished action becomes unfamiliar. Monitoring adapts to this baseline. It calibrates around interruption. It treats stoppage as expected. External signals are not necessary. Neutral reactions suffice. Silence suffices. The absence of interruption is processed as pending evaluation. Waiting becomes pressure. Time becomes a trigger. As the pattern repeats, the threshold lowers again. Even minimal initiation activates scrutiny. Even brief motion invites interruption. Nothing resolves between cycles. No completion resets the system. No clean finish reduces load. The behavior sustains itself structurally. Interruption feeds monitoring. Monitoring ensures further interruption. The loop persists without directive. It does not announce control. It operates through repetition. Pressure accumulates through continuity loss. The mechanism remains active, unfinished. The behavior does not correct itself. It persists without instruction. It operates without permission. Each interruption leaves residue, not memory, not insight, residual strain. The system continues to monitor because it has not finished. Completion would reduce load. Completion does not occur. Silence does not resolve it. Time does not dissolve it. Repetition deepens it. The pattern holds even when stakes drop, even when attention fades, even when nothing is demanded. The pauses remain, the checks remain, the breaks in motion remain. No single moment explains their presence. No single failure caused them. They arrive as structure. The behavior is already active before judgment appears. It anticipates exposure. It prepares for correction that may never arrive. This anticipation does not calm with absence. Absence prolongs it. Waiting becomes pressure. The system continues to interrupt itself, not because it must, because it has learned to. There is no signal that ends the loop. No internal marker of safety. No completion event. Expression remains provisional. Action remains interruptible. Movement remains conditional. The pattern does not collapse under awareness. It does not weaken through recognition. It continues through use. What remains is motion under surveillance, not imposed, sustained. The mechanism stays in place, active, unresolved.